Good day and welcome to another edition of Insight. Only a couple of days ago, the Prime Minister announced another SOE, this time for the areas including Mountain View. And research has been done on Mountain View more than once, more than twice. And there's a gentleman who is our guest this morning, Mr. Charles Atkinson. He did a dissertation on that. What's the situation there? How does it relate with the education? Mr. Atkinson, welcome. Your quick reaction to a state of emergency in that area. What's the solution? What's your view?
I hate to look back. I prefer the present and the future. State of emergency seemed to me as a band-aid. The problems, not just in Mountain View, but in Jamaica, especially in the city, has been going on for the past, I would say, 50 odd years. And I have to be careful here. It's not that no one ever tried, but people have tried. But again, the effort to me seemed to be a band-aid. State of emergency is nothing better, nothing less than a bigger band-aid. Where I see the problem, as most people say, Jamaica's biggest problem is crime, I beg to differ. But it is the biggest problem because of what we have been doing with the band-aid.
It's the biggest symptom.
The biggest symptom. It is more or less parenting. Now, I have heard on the radio, by the way, that millions or billions of dollars have gone down the drain through unusual methods. If that was used 40, 50 years ago to help parents, keeping girls especially in school longer, then maybe pregnancy would take place at a later age. Instead of children having children. Right. And fathers would probably become more responsible.
All right. Just so that people wonder, why the hell are you and I discussing this morning? But let's put it back in place. In 2006, you did something. What was it? Explain to us what happened.
In 2006, I was doing, a couple of years before that, started my master's in workforce development. But prior to that, I did some studies at the University of the West Indies in social sciences. I worked with Barry Evans and a few others in the social research around Jamaica, including marginalization of men, why man cancer. Not just in Jamaica, but in other parts of the Caribbean. We have learned a lot from the procedure, etc. And I wanted to do some work in that area, so I went to Horace Levy and discussed the whole thing with him and to get some direction as a mentor. And after talking for about half an hour, I got an idea, and I decided to do some work in Mountain View, where I worked at the time at Excelsior Community College. So I decided to do a research on looking on the social and economic lifestyle of the persons on Mountain View in the 7 communities. That is, starting from the top of Mountain View, Backbush, Nannyville, Top Range, yes, going down to Jake's Road, Barrett, McGregor Gully, and another one.
Burger Gully. Yes.
And I put my work together and did the research in the area, interviewing persons. But before I did that, I had to get the permission of what you call the area leaders. Okay. Where I discussed with them what I'm trying to do and to see if we can develop a program at Excelsior College for persons in these various communities if they are interested. Well, of course, we had about 40 to 50 of them turn up at the college for a discussion on areas that they may be interested in.
Yes.
But about 70% or 80% of them were females. The rest were males. They were afraid to come out of their community.
Yes.
And they would not get, if I should say, quote unquote, permission to leave the community.
So the fear kept them away from coming out of that vicious cycle.
The fear kept them away. And some of them claim that they're not interested in education. It's too expensive, although it was free.
Yes.
Expensive in terms of time.
Yes.
They
better
need time to go
hustle.
and hustle.
Yes. Immediate gratification.
Immediate gratification.
Of seeing down the road and the future. And now we have states of emergency there, checking through what is going on those roadways. We did our drive-through and got some pictures. And, you know, I just thought how fortunate it was that we decided before, because we didn't know that they were going to have no state of emergency, that we decided we're going to have this discussion. And what was it that you were after? What is it that you wanted to find out? What was the research about? So you got the approval, yes, you can go, you got the assistant. But what was it that you were after?
Okay. The title of the book, the study was A Study of the Living Conditions, Education, and the Training Status of Residents in the Mountain View Community. We're looking at, we would like to get their views on if they feel, or they feel about isolation, if they're isolated from other parts of Jamaica or other parts of community.
Yes.
We wanted to find out how they're living, how they acquire things, what is their employment status, etc. And out of it, the research showed that roughly 77% of the population that we studied had less than a high school education.
Stop there. Caution. 77%. You're talking about in 2006.
2006.
Do you think this would be a great difference now? Just anecdotally, you haven't tested it, but I want to give up 7%.
Okay. It's
Still bad.
yes, still bad. But remember, people have been moving out of Mountain View area and people have been coming in.
Yes.
The population at that time, from starting, I think it was a little under 5,000 in those communities. And now, I've never checked, but I figure it would be probably somewhere in the same region because some other communities has grown.
Yes.
Like Nannyville.
Yes.
That's grown, expanded. You notice the buildings there
Yes.
and a number of students from there are attending schools. The only community that did not participate in coming to Excel to participate in some of the programs, it was one, well, I wish not to call now, one on Mountain View. And the reason is the person in the area had said that they're not allowing anybody from the community to attend that school because of political reasons and otherwise. The member, it was said that the school is a double PNP school.
Double PNP.
Yeah, and I could not understand that. You see, when you do social research, you learn some things about how the community use words. It's amazing. And he said, go and think about it. You're educated, you're a teacher. For 2 weeks I tried to work it out, I could not. But the answer was in my head. Then he likes parties, so we bought half dozen parties, tastes. I like parties, so we'll sit down and talk about it. And so Mr. Atkinson, let me educate you by asking a question. Who is the member of parliament? I said, Maxine Henry. Like, okay. And who is the member of parliament? The minister, who is the minister of education? Maxine Henry. And who is the representative in the area where your school is? Say, Maxine Henry. And he looked at me and said, oh, you say you don't understand it? I still don't. Oh, now I got it.
Double stupid.
Yes.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back on Insight. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Insight. Charles Atkinson, social scientist, if he might not want to dub himself that way, but I am certainly doing that. Because once you start doing the research into people. We just left a while ago and heard somebody who said they were smart, that the EXED was a double PNP at the time in 2006, because the then Minister of Education was Maxine Henry Wilson, then the PNP was in power, and EXED, right? So, and then they worked that out. So nowadays, like how you have somebody who is responsible for education, you really have well, the Prime Minister is the Education Minister, but says 2 to 1 now. I have 2 persons overshadowing education, and the MP is Julian Robinson, is it?
Yeah,
Julian Robinson, yes, for that area. I would imagine it's 2 to 1. I don't know. Divide is 1, or 2 into 1, 1 into 2. Do the math. But we won't get into that frivolity. The point I'm simply making is that a part of the thesis that that came out, you can use. You ascribed it to someone else, that you can use, the pedagogy of education or politics. But it was that you can subjugate or liberate. You can control politically with education, or through education, people can be liberated to think and to free up themselves. Clearly, this was a case at a time that they were moribund in the quagmire of politics.
Yes. Yes, it is. But before we go there, the gentleman in this community did not allow anybody to attend the program. One young man decided to sneak out and attend the program. He had to leave the community.
Wow.
He is now a very successful person in electronics. Very successful.
Driven.
Yes. After about a year or 2 of it, he noticed people are getting by, so he opened the gate, as you may call it. And that the population from that community was more than from other communities.
Yeah.
It's like you're craving, waiting for the floodgate to open.
Yes.
And they did well. And a number of bright persons came from the inner city in Mountain View. There's a gentleman from, I'll call the name, not his name, Backbush. He went away years ago, migrated. He developed what you call a material that was about 10 times harder than steel.
And?
Steel.
Steel. Okay.
Yes. We tried to invite him to Jamaica to give a talk, but he could not, because he was now under the protection of the government, as we understand.
Oh, he had to leave Jamaica?
No, because of the work he did. It was
Oh.
valuable. A material nearly 10 times as strong as steel.
So he's an asset
Yes.
that has to be protected
Yes.
24/7.
My understanding is that they wanted to build a shuttle to send to the sun. And we had to take pictures or take data before it could get melted.
And there's
Not
a
to
Backbush,
return.
and there's a Backbush fellow.
Backbush. It was in the paper some years back. But we could not get him to Jamaica because his work was classified, I understand.
Can you just think exponentially the amount of persons and talent that have been shot down, locked off, and beheaded because of the rubbish and the garbage that's known as crime?
Yes. Yes.
As an educator, what's your reaction to the potential and loss thereof?
It's not only in the inner city it's happening in schools, may I say. CXC cannot respond fast enough to industry needs. University, in my opinion, can react probably about between 40 and 60%. Google, Netflix, and Apple said that it's difficult to get 4 years degrees people to work for them to develop their technologies. Universities are behind. So what they are looking at is the possibility of running their own training programs.
Okay. to fit their
To fit.
needs.
You're talking about AI.
That's artificial.
Yeah.
intelligence.
You're talking about technology that's universities and schools are far behind. The teachers' colleges in Jamaica, in my personal opinion, again, is far behind. There's no way CXC can adapt within a month. For them to do that, you'd have a lot of resources. As it is now, the teachers' colleges, it's difficult for them to react within a month.
All right. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And I mean it this way. We're talking about 70% persons not finishing high school in an area that
No, never.
never went to
Attend high school.
never attended high school.
Never attended
70% of those you spoke to
Yeah.
never attended high school.
Never.
Let alone, let's not worry about what Netflix and all them people. Just think about what it is, how further behind they are. I put it to you. I put a cake to you. Education, unemployment, crime. The lack of education leads to the lack of employment, which leads and breeds crime. Crime being the icing on the cake.
Yes.
Refix that cake if you care.
I look at education a little different from, I would not say most people, but some people. You see, education as we see it is training persons to work for those who have a business. So you don't need to learn how to think. May I use that word?
Yes.
The classroom is just like the workplace. You are supposed to turn up at 8:30 for work. You are trained for 5 years at high school, but from prep school right up, to go to school at a certain time. The bell will go, just like the bell at the workplace, lunchtime. Bell will go again, lunchtime is over, get back to work, like in a factory. You learn those skills, and that have been going on for probably nearly 100 years, from the time of the gold rush in the States and other parts of the world. We are not as creative as we should be that is their education system, in helping students to develop what I call creative freedom. The teachers are not trained for that because the teachers' college are not prepared for that. We are not prepared for people to go in their own business. What are some of the things we should be teaching in school? Is it how we are doing biology, or we are doing physics, or we are doing chemistry? We call it STEM. And then we had integrated science. What's integrated science? Integrated science is not biology, physics, and chemistry separated. They are integrated. How much our students know about vertical farming with technology? How can we put the biology, the chemistry, and the physics? One teacher is teaching physics, one teacher is teaching biology, another one chemistry. And the students are supposed to integrate that in the exam. It's difficult, it can't.
So you give them the parts and they must do the mixture.
So I have a problem with how we treat integrated science and how we are going to treat and how we start to treat STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They must be integrated in, I would say, if you're doing a project, all of that should be involved in that project.
It doesn't have to come through one teacher?
It does have to come through one teacher.
So how do you integrate that then?
That is the purpose of the teachers. It doesn't have to come through one teacher. You use the different teachers as consultant to get the project going, just like in the real world. A shuttle going to the moon or anywhere else space, there's not one person. They are specialists in various areas. They consult with them to see until they get it right. If you don't get it right, explosion would take place in mid-sky and would kill astronauts. It would damage billions of dollars research material, research work.
All right, gonna ask you to hold that as we take yet another break on Insight. We'll be right back with Charles Atkinson. Welcome back to Insight. We're taking a deeper discussion on the issue relating to inner cities, and more specifically the Mountain View area, where research was done, the latest of them, as we understand it, in 2006. And our guest is Charles Atkinson. He was involved in that as part of his dissertation for his master's degree. And we're taking a look at it and to see what has changed since. One of the frightening things that came through that research is that some 70% of the people, the respondents in those studies, did not go to high school. No, that is playing with a serious matter. And now we have had a situation where people were told not to come to Excelsior, the after-school situation, the community college. And a community college, by nature of being a community college, ought to be there to sustain that community and to be sustained by that community and to fix the needs and to be more flexible than other schools are. In other words, if it's an area where there's bauxite, I would imagine that you're training people to working into that area. What was Excelsior doing or is doing?
Oh, Excelsior is still doing the usual academic studies. It has a technical department, an engineering department. It has a business department. It has various departments. It is offering associate degrees.
Yes.
But the program that we had developed for the Mountain View area had nothing to do with those programs.
Oh, what kind of programs are these?
Programs that they were interested in.
For example?
For example, we introduced some to them too. We had a small appliance repair program for them. And the small appliance repair program is not going on the board and draw and discuss things. It's pulling apart the iron, look at the various part, give the name, look for the problem, fix the problem. Sometimes we look at other possibilities. The class was about 3 hours for that day. And there was about 10 persons in that class. And one young man learned so much from that day, like a sponge, did not return.
Wow.
He started his own shop.
Right away.
Right away.
Yes.
I understand now he's now in television. You see, the thing about small appliances, once you learn one,
yes,
you will pick up the reasons behind components.
Yes.
And you can do a toaster because it's similar to an iron.
Yes.
You can do other things like a hot plate, and you can move into other areas. The people in Mountain View are interested in apprenticeship like carpentry. They prefer people to come in their community and teach them to do things. There's a young man who learned auto mechanic. He built a bike for himself, and he rode that bike around Mountain View, but he did it only at night. He can do carpentry, he can do pizza, he can do plumbing, and he can do tiling. Ask him how he learned it. It is in the book. It's part of the case study. Ask him how he learned it. He looked and looked at how other people doing it, spent time with them, didn't get paid until he think he knows it well. He can do those things.
What is going on with those programs now? They've stopped.
More or less. The idea of the program was PMI would continue it, and other groups would continue it. Well, they did contribute it because a member from PMI did accompany me through the community, observing what was happening. You did, in trying to talk with the individuals. The new program that the government has now, I forget the name of it, where the students were supposed to get a stipend, I understand.
Hope? This is the Hope.
Keeping children in school longer.
Okay.
I did a stunt at Exed. I'm retired now, 5-6 years. But I went back there for 3 months. And a number of the students can barely read. These are 18, 19, 20, 21. A number of them can barely read.
Barely read.
Yeah. and the reasonability is just not there. It's just not there. And the heart is below, and they'll tell you it's too long to go to heart. They have to earn. And they would not do a course that exceed for beyond a month or two. Majority of them.
There's a phrase called catch-22 that I understand to mean that you need to do it, but you can't get to do it. And therefore, it's like either which way you go. I mean, you heart is there, but you can't go because it's too expensive. But you can't move your position in life unless you go to a place like heart. Because what I'm hearing coming out now, that the lack of certification in Jamaica amongst workers, because while the unemployment rate might be going down appreciably, the types of jobs, there are certain jobs that need to come to Jamaica that the skill sets aren't there. Yes? And we have a situation in the communities that we're speaking about, Mountain View, where Excel is up the road, Heart is down the road, and you really can't make it because you have to go earn our money. So it's a vicious cycle there of catch-22. What do you do? How do you break that?
Okay. Businesses will always need employees.
Yes.
But there are some people who would like to do their own thing. So how I see it is that the Teachers College will have to pay more attention to things like, how do you do a tax return? People in high school will need that very soon. Mm-hmm. So they can start their business, do their own return.
Yes.
How do you register business at the company's office? Mm-hmm. How do you use a credit card? I've overheard a teacher somewhere was teaching about a credit card. That's years ago. And what the teacher was saying was outdated about a credit card. When credit card came to Jamaica, I got my credit card in the first or second week.
Yes.
And that is decades ago. So you have to develop programs that students will learn these things if they want to go to do their own business. Entrepreneur, they want to start their own business. And you train persons, for example, the call centers.
Yes.
Yes, there are programs going for the call centers. And it's kind of free. And I would recommend that most persons should go and participate in it. I get texts occasionally about it, but in the text, the WhatsApp, it did not say what are the qualifications to enter. And I'm mad about that. And I'm calling around to ask, why you send this WhatsApp around for we to send persons to this person there? And it didn't say what's the qualification. Mm-hmm. If it said the qualification, you may get probably 200 persons. It did not say you get 1,000 persons. And what do you do? Go through it to find out only 500 persons qualified?
Yes.
These people don't have money to take bus and tidy themselves to go elsewhere.
Yes. You could have filtered it long ago.
You could have filtered it.
Well, wrong approach. All right, let's get down to, because you didn't want to do the studies, but there were recommendations coming out of it. And I want to look at that because alas, these programs are much too short. Among the recommendations, as simple as you put it, you put community center promised by government should be completed to provide community-based education and training. Is that still on? Is that still a viable recommendation?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I think there was a $5 million allocated for that program, but it went down. I don't think it's in operation. If it was in operation, I guess I would know about it.
No, I'm talking about would that recommendation still
the recommendation
stand?
Yes, it still stands.
You still believe that
Yes.
more
Yes.
community centers should be built and not taken over by the dance and put in them dance and for
well, I'm not sure about
small business people. We call them hustlers, but I like to see from an entrepreneurial position that they're small business people.
Yes. But some of these dons, they are area leaders. They are willing to work with such programs, Mm-hmm. Put in the programs. and allow what these residents are afraid of really is to move from one community to another community to another community. They prefer to get it in their community.
Yes.
They feel safe in their communities.
Yes, but help me with this part. To have education and training, community-based. If the issue of crime is creating the fear for them to come out of their communities, how would external persons want to come into their community? What's in it for that external person?
Oh, why external person would want to come in there really?
Well, that's the question I'm
I'm
asking.
saying, if there's a community there, put a center there. It don't have to be a large thing. It could be one space. You get a tiler, and the tiler will go and teach tiling 1 day per week. If it's hairdressing, the person could go there and do hairdressing 1 day per week. They do hairdressing there now. And they are good at it on the street.
It's under the light at night.
If it's plumbing, they can use the same space for plumbing.
Okay, in other words, it's
there.
not requiring outside intervention.
Yeah, you need professionals to help with it.
Where will the professionals come and why should they come?
Because they want to be involved, and you can get them involved. And some of them are already involved, and some of them are living in the community.
Safety concerns, that's what I'm trying to get
No.
out of it.
Once it is something to benefit these people, they will allow it.
All right. The other one is marketing of programs like Excelsior Community College. You had Jamal, I don't think that's around.
No,
anymore.
at 2006 it was there.
Yes. And the heart in the community, the marketing of the programs. In other words, you're saying these people need to market themselves better to these communities.
Yes, because a number of them didn't know about what these programs offer. Few of them didn't know that Heart has a center at Rockfort. And approximately 2 or 3 out of 10 knew about it.
Yes, so that's the Garmix
Yes.
people.
Is it
no?
Garmix? No, Garmix is on Marcus
The
Garmix.
Marcus Garbage, right.
Right on the where JPS has its port across from there.
That's right.
Few people know it's a Heart program. So,
A well-kept secret.
maybe.
Are you saying that the likes of Heart and Excelsior Community need to do more?
Yes. Yes.
How can they transmit that message to these communities that don't seem to be listening to anything?
Okay. The member of parliament for the area, my understanding, is working with, are trying to work with Excelsior Community College and get programs going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take a break. I will have some more recommendations to come to. So stand by. We'll be right back on Insight. Welcome back to Insight. The studies show that the communities around Mountain View, certainly in 2006, and we're saying not much difference nowadays, certainly not in the behavior, that some 70% of their have never been to high school. I know that's scary and that's frightening because that breeds problems like crime. And it breeds the need for things like a state of emergency, as we're looking at some of the roadways now there to prevent, and the law-abiding citizens, and the Lord knows that there are many of them. The Lord also knows that too many of them are hushed about what is going on there, and thus we have this morning, and no doubt many mornings to come, these taking away an infringement of their rights, and that's what it is, a state of emergency. They can check you, soldiers can arrest you. We are looking at some of the recommendations, because we're not just coming to say, we're bright and smart, and 44 people didn't do this, and 24 persons did 24% of this, and no, that's what we're oriented towards finding. We're saying that the space for community training is required. And we are saying that the marketing of the programs that's offered by Excelsior Community College, Hart, those places need to step up and to allow the people in those communities to know what's going on. Because fear drives them to stay in their communities, and therefore they become isolated. Nobody isolated themselves, but out of fear and protection, they become isolated. There's one that says non-political education training program. Non-political education. In other words, don't come with your green line on your orange line. Come with education line. I see you're catching up with your own.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So the non-political education. In other words, don't do it to capture votes.
You're talking on number 3?
Yes.
Oh, that the training program should not have direct political affiliations.
Yes, yes.
No. It's, in my opinion, and in listening to my respondent, they'd prefer to have outsiders who will be willing to come and people from inside to help with the training. They don't want political intervention. They say political intervention tend to disrupt their thinking.
Yes, yes.
One parent of the record had said, there's a parent who was about 60 at that time, they lived through various leaders over the years in Mountain View. They come and they change this and change that. And she did mention something specific, and I laughed. She said, I don't want a program where they come and change the name of all our things and give it a different name and teaching us and doing something different. They want to continue with the same thing if it's working.
Yes, 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 yes. And I suspect that even from the national level, that's a requirement. And we have seen the maturity in Jamaican administration and politics, you know. It's one of the reasons why we could come out of 2014, 2012, and we're showing the seeds of progress as it relates to our economy. Although it's the growth is eluding us, if you may, to an extent. But at least when it came to the IMF agreement, people weren't taking off here and there and doing things.
Yes.
But so I would take
What she was really referring to was API and GIS.
Yes, yes.
I refuse to mention
No, I take it beyond that. I'm well aware of that. But I'm taking it on that it comes sensible now. Don't just come changing name for changing thing. I think we are matured enough. But here's what I have to ask you, and this is where I have to come down now. What are the responsibilities of these communities, these troubled communities? Are they not responsible for cleaning up their mess? Is it a babysitting thing they want? Are they not responsible? They're competing priorities. And if they keep behaving, and they're sure votes, you know. You go to Mountain View, green one side, orange one side, and they ain't going to change their vote. Right? They're political, I can't say it on the television. But the point I'm making is that their education has not caused them to rise and say, listen, big man, you know, this is what we're after, these are the opportunities we want. What are they responsible? They're the ones with the guns and firing at people and block off the road, and some days you can't go down Mountain View. Mountain View is where most policemen have been killed. That thing, Mountain View is a place that when a president is come from the United States, he has to fly over. He doesn't come through there because of the height and the depth, the gully and the hills. It behoves them to get their act together so they can grow out of this mud.
3 things here. One, I'll start with a student, a bright student from the school. He ended up with some 6-7 CXC. He sent out about 200 letters. Could not get a job. He came to me and asked if he could use my address. I said, yes, you can use my address. He got about 10 replied. He filtered out 3 and came back to me and said, which one should I choose? So you're an electrical, the rest are small electrical thing. Take JPS. He took JPS. 3 months after he came back to me and said, he has to leave. Said, leave what? You thief something? Said, no. You're going to prison? No. They're sending him abroad to do his degree. Came back. He did my bachelor. He came back about 2 years after, say he had to leave again. Whoa, don't tell me get into trouble with them now because of the community you're from. No, he's going to do his master's. The last time I heard something about him was about 8, 9, 10 years ago. This is not from the 2006 research. It was years before because I spent nearly 35 years between the high school and the college. And I heard this name, Dr. X. I don't know no Dr. X. I realized he had his PhD.
Yes.
And lecturing at universities somewhere abroad and working in industry.
Yes.
He's from the area. Secondly, in those communities, there are people who did not go to school and not working, but they are affluent. There are people there who went to school and can't make ends meet. It's not a nice sight.
No.
The stigma of the community.
Yes. And the stigma don't come off in a day. It's a stench of a skunk.
It's a very
So
difficult
therefore, they
task.
have to be determined that whether or not let's go for the long haul.
No, I was born in town and grew up in town. I am not a total half angel. I've seen things over the past 50 years all over town because I used to ride my skate and hop the buses and do all sorts of things, but I could not interpret what was happening until in my 20s. Now, back to your question. How are these people going to clean up that air? It's going to be a very difficult task. If every couple, 4 or 5 years or 6 years or 10 years, different people are going into the community and turn it upside down. If they can earn without, why not? It's going to be a difficult task, but it can be done.
On that hopeful note, who is Charles Atkinson? When born?
I was born in town.
What you call town?
Downtown, at a place they call near to, well, the right pronunciation is really Matthews Lane.
Matthews Lane.
But it's Matthews Lane.
Matthews Lane. Yes.
But the correct pronunciation is Matthews.
Yes.
Between there and North Street.
Yes.
3 sisters and myself. And we left from there to Richmond Park, and from Richmond Park we went back to school and did a lot of things. Yes, some of them we do, we should talk about here. And we travel a lot, and we studied a lot. I spent most of my young years, put it this way, I looked around and I saw that older folks seem to understand a lot and know a lot. And I did not know why. I got the feeling that when they reach 50, the Lord touch them on their shoulder and give them wisdom. When they reach 60, the Lord touch them and they keep giving them more wisdom. How could they know things?
Yes.
So I decided to knock it with older folks. So I joined just about all the clubs you can find in Kingston. Computer club, which was adult, the astronomy club, a geography club, and we traveled in the Caribbean. I was one of the youngest one, and I learned a lot. So in my middle 20s, going on to 30, things start coming to me and realize that this is how the world works. And if you don't understand how the world works, you're going to have it very difficult.
Mother?
Yeah,
Father?
Yeah, my father. Oh, my father, he was a clown. But since we were big having our kids, we realized what our father was doing.
Yes.
My mom died when I was 2.
Ooh.
And various mom, meaning aunts, stepmom, etc. Holborn Street Church of God was my church.
Holborn?
Yeah, Reverend Cleve Grant. Okay. We went to church like 8 days a week. I don't know she got it 8, but we went to church 8 days a week. My father was there for us.
Yes.
And as the girls, 2 other girls grew, he sent them to various relatives in the States. I'm the only one decided not to migrate.
Yes. Yes.
Because I wanted to, but I think by age 14, 15, I had a purpose here. My aunt wanted me and I tell her, no, I am not interested. I'm going to try and 14-year-old, 15 now, and fix the problems here. Fix problems. My aunt said to me, that's impossible. Nobody can do that. Well, I decided to go back to school, and I ended
And
up
you
in
taught.
teaching.
You went into teaching.
Yeah,
How many years?
35.
Regrets?
Yeah,
Why?
I didn't go earlier.
I like that. You wanted 95.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I did not go earlier.
A lot of the pull factor, the push factor for teachers. What say you about teaching, and how would you tell them to make it through the fire?
Teachers.
Yes.
Whatever you do, try to develop creativity. Be free. I call it freedom, creativity, freedom. If you don't have that, you're going to find that the kids around you will ridicule you because you don't know half as much as the things that they know. And you have to nurture that behavior, the good behavior. If it's a bad behavior, you can turn it into something good. And secondly, try and find a second interest that you can work on. So you can, the government may have me for this, but I'm telling you. So you can spend 25 years in teaching and leave. Use the 25 years to develop that skill, that interest, and go into teaching, go into some other thing.
Yes.
Retirement, our pension is not enough and will never enough. You need to understand other business. Be an entrepreneur while you're at school, in your head.
Yes.
Don't shortchange the students.
Yes, yes. Let's come full circle. You have done your dissertation on the Mountain View communities. You, for the next 35 seconds or so, if you had the power to make the changes, what would it be for Mountain View?
Well, I know about 200 like-minded persons, like myself, and I would put them together, go back in the community, and try to renew the program we had going, the lovely program at Atkinson, and try to introduce these programs in the community.
PMI, scant regard now being paid to it. Heard coming from the Minister of National Security that PMI interface with those you really don't need to interface with. What say you on PMI?
No, I disagree with that. You need it. Please note my number one recommendation. Community centers promised by the government should be completed, and a micro-level crisis intervention, community-based education and training program be developed for each community center. So I'm a supporter of this from 2006 and before that. From Barry Shevers were there, Bishop, etc. Crisis level communities. So you have these training taking place there at the same time.
I want to thank you so much and for all that you have done and continue to do, and we're here to share, and here's hoping that some value might have come your way today on Insight, and Michael Sharp wishing you pleasant viewing.